All right, everybody, what's going on? We are live, the closing table for the month of January, episode number 25. And as Dan stated in the promos for the new episode, season 3 has begun. That's right. Here we are, the man next to me, the one and only Mr. Hub Rigel, and he's got his box of screwdrivers to show off. And the man of the hour, the man of the month, the man of the year, and the man always, not only for your real estate needs, but for all the humans over houses. Dan Pizzi of NextHome Brandywine, ladies and gentlemen. Dan, fill
Good
us
evening,
in.
everybody. I'm back 11 hours out of the house, and I just made it. Just like Howie Roseman in today's Eagles press conference, we're a little bit late. That's my fault this month. Busy day. So we're here. Season 3 kicks off. It's a wild real estate market, and I'm happy that we're going to have Mike on tonight to talk about cars, which really overlaps with real estate as far as interest rates, as far as volume, what's happening, who can afford them, who can't. So there's so many synergies, and I love cars. I watch Car Edge every day. There's a YouTube channel, father and son. So very much looking forward to having Mike on and talking about the car business and just kind of what's going on in the economy and what's happening out there. So we're busy. Even with the interest rates being very much fluctuating, they were down to 6.375 about 2 weeks ago, and then they jumped to like 3.6, 3.7, like 0.3 to 0.4 of a point over like a 5-6 day period. So if you're not following along closely as a consumer and you are looking for a house, keep in contact with your mortgage professional regularly. And don't blame your mortgage professional for the rates going up or down. It's not their fault. They don't control the interest rates. Bo DeFord CMG Home Loans is our go-to. I've been working with Bo. I talked to him about 4 times today. So stay in contact with your professionals because things are very much in flux. Hub, how you doing, buddy? I haven't talked to you since the holidays. You good?
I'm doing real good. And since we're talking about cars, I got screwdrivers that were related to cars. This is a Volkswagen screwdriver, and it's
This is
an old
great.
one
Wait, this is great.
made in West Germany. And remember, and also it's one of these where you've got a Phillips on this end and a slot on
This
this
is
end,
fantastic.
and
So
so
is
you
that
pull it back in. It's made in West Germany. They made a whole bunch of them. And here's
Hey, Bay,
another one.
this is great, Bay.
This is a screwdriver from CarQuest,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is it is also who got bought out by. Let me see if you can see. Can you see that CarQuest there?
Yep.
There we go. And it got bought out by Advanced Auto Parts.
Yes.
Ah.
But this has got to be a really rare screwdriver. You see what I'm saying? And there actually is another one here somewhere. Oh, yeah. Oh, this one right here. This is a Kia, and this is a multi screwdriver by Kia. I can't imagine them giving this out to anybody or giving
Where
it
do you
in
get
like a
these?
trunk.
Where do you get these?
You get them in like various garage sales and that kind of thing.
It's
You see,
fantastic.
so this is a Kia. This is from Kia. You see Kia right there?
Yes.
And it's got like maybe 10 different screwdrivers on it. And it wears you wear it on your belt. You got this clip for your belt.
That's phenomenal.
Very cool, but it's all different sizes.
Look
All
at this,
different
Bay.
sizes here. See, whole bunch of
Bay
Phillips heads.
wants to go start working on cars after seeing all these screwdrivers.
Yeah, but he has a Kia.
Look at that. See that, Bay? And guess who? I have a Volkswagen. So you just hit on 2 of our cars here. My wife has a Volkswagen Tiguan.
Yeah, but see, I can't. This is probably from like a service station
Right.
or something.
You're correct.
Yeah, because I can't imagine like in some of these cars, like Peugeot and this like this. When you buy a car, they have tools and they come with the car. Or at least back in the day, back in the 70s, they would have a toolkit in the car.
Yes. They don't even give you a spare tire.
Yeah.
Does anybody know why, though, they're not giving you? Not so much the cost of the tire. Does anyone know the main reason that they are not giving you a spare tire with your vehicle?
Why?
I really do tell.
So check this out. Because of the fuel economy and the fuel efficiency, they're trying to keep the total weight of the vehicle down, and the spare tire adds extra weight, even if it's minimal. So when you add in that aspect of it and the cost of the spare, they are eliminating the spares because they're trying to keep the total weight down on the vehicles, the gross weight down, because all these numbers are factoring in with the EPA and the fuel efficiency. So that is the main reason they are not giving you a spare. My friend,
I never liked the spare they gave you anyway.
Correct. Well, here's the problem though, Hub. Somebody just had a blowout on the highway, and in fact, who was I talking to? I just forget who was telling me. Well, the sidewall blew out, and they called up AAA because I had no spare, and they said, "Well, do you have a spare?" And they said, "No." They said, "Well, use the air kit. You can't use an air kit when a sidewall blows out." So, not having a spare sometimes is going to bite you.
But does it have a place for a spare?
My new vehicle has a place for a spare. You can buy one on your own after the fact if you want one, because they don't.
That's what I would rather do.
Me too.
I would rather do.
And then you could probably get a better spare, to be honest with you, than sometime the junk that the manufacturer gives you. You know, maybe you get a little better quality spare tire. Is Mike coming on? Bay, I want to tell a quick story here.
Tell the story. I'll let you know when he's ready.
Good. So here's what's going on. So this is real estate business. It is cutthroat as cutthroat could be. And it's interesting talking. I'm going to talk to Mike about some of this. There's no loyalty. And people will say to you, like, that aren't in someone's specific business, "Oh, your business is easy. You make a lot of money in your business." You know, things that people that don't work in a sector on a regular basis have, like, these preconceived notions of. So I've been working with a guy for 5 years. I put them in their house, and he wanted to become an investor. He called me about a year or so ago and said, "I want to start investing." So I got the guy all set up, got him his numbers, and got him like set up what he wanted to buy, where he wanted to buy. We could find him a house in Lebanon this year. It's an auction. We put him in the house. He's rehabbing the house. He calls me on a regular basis. I go over the numbers with him, where he's at, what the current market data is. I drive up there last week. It's an hour and 10-minute drive. I bring up a sign. I bring up the listing paperwork. We have a nice conversation. I do a pre-listing video for the guy. He says, "I'm going to look over the paperwork." We were back and forth on price. He wanted to list it a little bit too high. I says, "Look, these are I can only give you what the numbers say." So he said, "Let me look it over. I'll get back to you." So Danny and I have been very sick with the flu. We're just back on our feet this week. And he calls me Sunday, and I could tell by the tone of his voice. He says, "I'm going to use another agent to list the house." So you know that somebody got in his ear, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right? So instead of telling me the truth, right, which us guys from Delco don't like people blowing smoke, so the guy comes and he says, gives me a story. "Oh, you're too far." I wasn't too far for the last year and a half that I've been helping you with the place.
Yeah.
I wasn't too far for the last 5 years when I sold your place all the way up in Christiana. I said to him, "Whatever you want to do, you do." I said, with me, if you don't want to work with me, you don't work with me. I said, for my edification, who got in your ear? What bug got in your ear? So he got a new girlfriend, and the new girlfriend told him, "Use my realtor up here. Your guy's too far away. Use my guy." But people outside of the loyalty piece to this, you can't hire Uncle Johnny, Cousin Judy, Aunt Jody. You got to make sure you got a professional. You're talking, and I'm going to talk to Mike about this because that business is cutthroat just like our business.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
And then they say, "Oh, those guys are no good." And this Mike does a lot of business, right? He's a professional car salesman. He's not a clown, right? He's not a guy that just jumps in there because he didn't have a job. I don't understand why people take this industry in real estate so lightly. If you see what I do on a regular basis, what I did today for clients, the diversity of my client, their challenges, the areas we work in, so many different touch points today alone in the 11 hours I was pounding those streets. It's quite hurtful to us. You get over it. You're used to it. You get thick skin. But people don't realize you better have a learned professional in your corner or you're going to get burnt. And Mike can probably tell you stories in regards to that as well. So that's a little story this week of how this business is a tough business and the people are not loyal. Now you say, how do you avoid that? In this instance, I don't have what they call a buyer's agency, a contract, because he's a seller. He didn't sign the listing agreement. I had no recourse with the guy. I lost the deal. And you know how much time and effort I put in? You know, it really does bite you when you're working so hard and you care so much for your clients and you are a professional and you are extremely well learned and you take the time to go to trainings and put in the effort, just like car salesman Hub. You could speak to it from a musician standpoint when you talk about how, and we've talked about this in the past, how people want to play a song and they want to start with one of the hardest songs because that's the song they heard, but they didn't have the building blocks to even get close to playing that song. The there and now instant gratification, instant satisfaction of this is what causes people problems sometimes because they don't have a learned professional in their corner. You know, yeah, so
I think that applies to any field because any professional, like taxes, it could be your air conditioner. We were talking about air conditioner repairman.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult to find a good anything. So you have to really shop around and find the one that really is going to
But why
do
do
the
people
job right.
sell out so easy today? Everything's on a whim. Oh, I met a new girl. You're out the door. I'm hiring her realtor. What is going on today?
Well, I think that instance where, you know, with the girlfriend, probably just to avoid the headache of hearing the girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's what that was. But I think most people, when they do something like that, they think, you know, I'm going to go with whoever's good friend or my good friend because they think they're going to save them a couple dollars.
Well, and this is the thing, right? So, and I had this guy worked out on a deal because we were going to do multiple deals together. But even from the perspective,
just a heads up, real quick. I'm texting with Mike. He's actually with a customer right now. He's just like
not a surprise.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Well, that's, and you got to jump, right? So that's a good dovetail here in the conversation. You got to jump when the customer's there. We jump. Yeah. Like if Mike's got to go if he's eating his dinner, he's got to stop eating his dinner if the customer comes in and go work with the customer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You know, but I think what people think sometimes is not the reality because Mike will probably tell you, he's just a lousy car salesman. You know, he's just, you know, a bottom feeder car salesman guy. Do you know how much effort goes into being a good quality salesperson?
Good quality of anything today.
Let me tell you about Mike.
More complicated.
Right.
Let me tell you about Mike real quick. So I've known Mike, you know, since we were kids growing up in Upper Darby. And when I was in the car business, when I first got in the car business 15 years ago, when I was doing what I was doing with the pictures for the dealerships, I didn't know he was in the car business. I walked into a dealership to try to get a new account, and he was the GM there. And he was like, oh, my God. We started talking. Boom. I got to his account. He got me signed up with all these other dealerships, taking care of his old Upper Darby brother, you know, and hooked me up and took care of me. And I bought cars off him for years. My purple Charger I got from him. My nieces and nephews all buy their cars from him. As a matter of fact, I talked to my niece this afternoon. Her husband was going and signing papers today for their truck, their new truck.
You know, it's a shame. I would have bought, and that's my ignorance. We should have engaged because I went and bought my car, and I want to ask him about that if he can jump on, if he gets on with us in the hour. But it's a right now the way the world is. To me, it's a very selfish environment, and people don't even, you know, think for a second. You know, you think this guy would have said, you know how much Dan has done for me? I'm not going to jump ship on this guy. Plus, he's a learned professional, and he even helped me out from a commission basis because we were going to work multiple deals together. So then he said to me on the phone, well, listen, if I'm back in the Coatesville area, I'll call you. Well, you know, you get a bitter taste in your mouth. Are you going to bend over and help people when you made a commitment to them and they didn't make a commitment to you? And Hub, I'm going to bring Hub in on this in the fact that compare it to the music business, Hub, because you spoke to this before about where people just think they're going to pick up a guitar and play these very complicated pieces.
you got to be real careful with that, because you don't want to give the student anything that they're not ready for. And if you do that, that's actually the teacher's fault, that they gave the student something they're not ready for.
So let's talk about a student that would come to you and say, you know, I'm going to play this, like a newer student that's a little bit green. And as a teacher, kind of your thought process in engaging them and saying, look, we got to have baby steps here to get to X.
Well, you've got almost everything is like a sequence in order to get to where you want to go, because it's called a multitask accomplishment. You're going to have, in order to get the most efficient improvement, you've got to have everything in a good sequence, to where if you learn one thing, it builds upon that and prepares you for the next thing.
It's a great point. And this is in every industry. I'm not
every
sure
industry.
And I'm not sure why the consumer, though, can't grasp that in a lot of instances, to where I think there should be a little bit more respect across the board for people and what they do, from real estate to the car business to any sales opportunities, because I just think that, you know, people take us for granted and the skill set of what a salesman brings to the table.
Well, that being able to postpone gratification to do the necessary things to get where you want to go is one of the strongest mental muscles that a person needs to develop to be more high achieving.
No, agreed.
Because, well, no, they've actually proven that. I don't know if you've seen that study where they had like a room of 30 kids, and they gave them a marshmallow and said, the teachers are coming back in 5 minutes, and if you don't eat your marshmallow for 5 minutes, these kids were like 6 years old. If you don't eat your marshmallow and you wait for 5 minutes, when we come back, you get a second marshmallow. And they had to delay gratification so they could have 2 marshmallows. Well, they filmed this, and when they came back and tracked these kids, they were 12 years later, when they were graduating high school, or maybe it was college or whatever it was, 16 years later, they noticed a huge amount of more accomplishment in the kids who could delay the gratification to get 2 marshmallows.
Great. Look at that. Another great point by Hub on the podcast.
But I was going to ask Bay, is how long did you know Mike? Well, how did you first meet him? Did you meet him before he was in the car business?
Oh, yeah, we were kids from the neighborhood. Yeah.
I'm going to say a couple things about NextHome here, and we're going to go into maybe some stats comparison of what's going on in the car business from a economics, financial standpoint, and kind of tie that into the real estate, which we wanted to do with Mike, if he can join us. We're working super hard. I mean, I don't think we've worked this hard at this time of year, at this pace, in a long time, but we were able to secure a really professional agent who joined us from Coldwell Banker. And Coldwell Banker regionally has been really gaining a lot of market share with agents in the Philadelphia region. And we have brought in Mayra. She goes by Maya Souza, who just joined us. She is from Brazil originally, right? She's been in the U.S. she's been in the United States for 10 years now, she told me. And she speaks fluent English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And you talked briefly today, and you said a lot of Brazilian people speak Portuguese and Spanish. So I stole that from you in our conversation with her today as she signed her paperwork. And she said that is true.
Actually, they would predominantly speak Portuguese. But another thing, too, is that Spanish people pick up on French really quick, too.
And she said there's a lot of crossover with the languages. Right. And her husband's family is from Italy. So very interesting mix. When you could speak 3 languages, it is a huge plus, you know, because you have that many more people that you can appeal to gain business. She's very professional in her dress, her speech. Like I said, she speaks 3 languages. She will be up on our website today. She should be there at nexthomebrandywine.com. You can check out her profile. You're going to be hearing a lot more about her with our team. It makes me feel good that, last year she was a friend of our agent, Ann Maroney's, and she had talked to Ann. She was going to talk to me. She went to Caldwell. Caldwell sold her on Caldwell, and then she decided that was not a fit for her, and she thought of us, and she said, I really would like to sit down and talk further with Dan and learn more about NextHome. She was blown away by NextHome's products and services, and she's very much into social media marketing. She loved our branding package. She loved Luke, our mascot. So it feels good that they see what we see in our brand, and we're going to welcome her. She's going to be new to our office. So that's been a plus this week. Lisa and I are working on 8 deals right now between the two of us.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable because last year was so lean compared to the year before, right? So and the year before that. But so it's been arduous. There's some challenges that nothing's like real smooth, but I can say that the feeling is that come March, April, when the weather breaks good, people are going to be in the driveway getting lined up to buy houses because the demand from a buyer perspective is high. The amount of houses listed is limited. And I'll say this, we just listed one in Honeybrook. I had the buyer and the seller. My buyer has been looking for 8 years. 8 years, this buyer's been looking.
8 years?
Yeah, it's been 7.5, almost 8 years. I was with Weichert and Century 21, and I've owned my franchise for 5.5. Been working with these folks. These folks weren't married yet. They are married now with 3 children. And we were just putting them in a home. When I listed a home in Honeybrook. They called me on the phone. They said, Dan, we like the house you listed. Can we see it? So got them in there, made the deal. So this guy bought this house back in 2012 for $212,000.
Okay.
We listed the house for $369,000. We got just about what it was listed for, just under what the listing price was for. I only had comps up to about that price range within $5,000 of the price we listed it for. What I wanted to sell the consumers out there is it actually appraised for a considerable amount above that.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a wow because we're talking about being at the high end already of what we feel the values should be on these properties. We're talking about a twin home side by side. It is a 3-bedroom. It has 4 bathrooms in the property. And someone's texting me. So it's my cousin Jody, photographer Jody's texting me. So it's a nice house, but it's a twin, nice little yard, 1-car garage, 1-car driveway. The prices have gone up so much. You're talking about a house that went up $150,000 in value in over 14 years. And comparing that to the car business, the cars are up. I follow this regularly. Stellantis, which Mike sells, the Dodge brand, that's up 54 to 56% over 5 years, and Hyundai's right beside them. So all these prices are elevated, and the demand is still extremely high. So and the interest rates are down a point to a point and a half from just before Christmas. So if you're looking and you think you're going to wait, there's no waiting because the demand's going to increase as the weather increases up here, and the prices are going not down. They're going up because the appraisals are coming in high. So as we match appraisal values, new listings that are coming on the market are going to push that envelope. So if you're looking, you better get on it now because it's going to get thin quick. And I've been lucky enough that I'm controlling some inventory right now. I have a lot of sellers. So we have one listing coming up in Cochranville. It's going to be a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath on 2.5 acres in a beautiful farmland down there in southern Chester County above Oxford. So that's coming on. We sold the one in Honeybrook. I have a listing right now that I'm about to put under contract. Hopefully we have an offer in on it in Count Township on Telegraph Road. And what else do we have coming on? We have Lisa just had 2 buyers that she put under agreement. And I just sold one in Southwest Philly. My seller's actually in the hospital. I just found out that out tonight. So we're trying to finish up that settlement. I have another one coming on in West Philly. So we're busy. I mean, the activity's there. You got to work for it. But anybody that says that, hey, even Mike will tell you, it's a shame he's not on. He would have told you the same thing about, is it slower? Yeah. Are there challenges? That yeah, for everybody, for the buyer, for the salesperson, for the manufacturers, the houses. But it's been an interesting run. I want to run this by you guys too. Interesting thing that I came across. We had a inspection on one of my properties, and the home inspector did a septic inspection, and they take the cap off the septic pipe, the sewer pipe, right? And they put a little camera down there, and they take a video, right, of where your number 2 goes, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that pipe's supposed to look like, but it is an X pipe. That's what it is. Number 2 goes through the pipe. So they take the video, right? This is what kills me with inspectors. So they take the video, and they says, we think we see a blockage. It's cloudy. I don't know what it's supposed to look like in there. It's cloudy. Okay. You think you might see a blockage. Okay. So now the buyer says, well, we don't want to buy a house if there's a blockage from the house to the sewer to the street.
Right.
But the way that the inspector worded it was very unclear. He just said there may be a blockage or a partial blockage, but it is getting through to the street. So the buyer said, look, I'm not buying a house unless we have that cleaned.
Yeah.
So now you got an inspector that puts a granular thing in there, right? Now who's jammed up? Me. I'm jammed up now because I got to go figure out, is this true? Is this not true? What's going on here? So I go over, we call one of the local companies, very good company, Zoom Drain. The guy comes out. I'm there with the seller's wife, and the guy comes out from the drain company, and he says to me, do you know how to unclog this drain? So I'm thinking, he's going to enlighten me. I'm going to learn something from the guy, right? I said, okay, tell me, how do I unclog the drain? Because I need it unclogged so I can get this thing to the settlement table. The buyers get to where they need, the sellers get to where they need, and I get paid. He goes, flush the toilet. Flush it. And then down goes the blockage. Okay. So we already agreed in writing because a professional inspector said, you got a blockage.
Right.
Now I got a professional who's a real professional from the drain company who comes out and says, you know how you get rid of the blockage? Flush the toilet. Guess how much that it cost? To clean a drain, because we already said we would clean it. It costs $790 to clean a drain that the professional said flush the toilet. We're having problems with vetting what is really needing to be done with inspections versus which actually the fact and the reality of it. So we have to relook the way we are addressing reply to inspection issues. So I thought that would be something that people would like to hear. I'm still annoyed about it because now we had an issue with a $790 septic clean out for something that
it didn't need to be done.
No, and Hub, we just talked about this, like when you were fixing something and taking stuff back because it didn't need to be done and you didn't need
it was the gas it was the gas inspections.
So check this out. So the only positive is the seller did it because it risk mitigates them. So once they sell the house, nobody can come back after the fact and say, hey, the inspector saw a clogged drain, but now we can say yes, and we spent $790 with the professional drain cleaning company and cleared the drain. And, they got good money. We had the conversation, but I do think myself and my clients need to relook at the way that we are reacting to these inspectings, because inspectors are surface inspectors. They're not qualified in any one area, and they can only be sued for the price of the inspection. So they go in and charge $1,000. They have to write something up in some people's eyes because they have to justify the inspection. And that's maybe that's not factual, but that's the conceived premise of the seller saying, hey, they have to find something because the buyer's paying them $1,000.
The way he did it too was like just so wishy-washy. It was like,
and what do you hear this, Bay?
It was wishy-washy in more ways than one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Hub, I get a call from the guy after the fact, and he says to me, I just wanted to clarify. Now, this is after he had already put it in writing in a report. I wanted to clarify that I didn't see a full blockage. And like you said, Bay says, well, I think I saw or could have saw a previous blockage, and there was some standing debris at the clean out point inside the home. When the professional got there, the only thing he saw was a little bit of where the trap was, where it settled, and maybe the pitch wasn't perfect, and maybe a little bit of a past blockage there that might have needed to be pushed out a little bit. Not inside the home like the inspector stated. So what I find is, my mother always says you have to watch what you say, how you say it. Again, these guys are saying stuff. It has to be factual because this is tied to legal stuff. This is tied to money. If it doesn't have to be done, it shouldn't be done. So we're running into things, and then buyers don't know because they're not as learned in those subjects. They're saying, "Wait a minute, I'm not buying the house. It has to be done." So
it almost sounds like, Dan, like that guy didn't fully know what he was doing, and he was just trying to cover his own ass. And
I'm trying. And then you know what happens to me? I'm stuck figuring out the FACT. Dan Pizzi, here it comes. Here it comes. Yeah. I got to go in there like, what was that show, like Greatest American Hero? Like the guy, remember that? Here it comes. What the hell's going on here? Now I'm stuck, right? You stuck me. Thank you. You got your G. Get your G? You got your G? I'm stuck now. Now I have to go figure out the fact, the legality, and manage the conversation between the buyer side and the seller side to make sure that we are clear and concise so everybody's within their legal right and everybody's happy with the outcome. So we are getting, and then they say, you guys make a lot of money. We wear like 90 different hats. That one really annoyed me, and I felt disrespected because you don't write something down unless it's factual on a report and say you think you might have saw when you're looking in a poop line with a granular camera that isn't even high definition and you took a video. I showed the video to the drain guy. It was like a 2-minute video, and I had a witness there, and they said flush the toilet. I mean, these instances come up, and I asked both sides if I could speak to this, and saying just use it as an example, not mentioning names, not mentioning a house or anything like that. This is stuff that we should be talking about at a higher level within the real estate industry, in conjunction with the home inspectors and stuff like that.
Yep, but that's a government inspector, isn't it?
No, they're a state licensed home inspector. So Hub, they got to go to school to get a home inspection license. It's a state licensed home inspector. And not for nothing, I love the inspector that did the inspection. But when things like this come up, I think we should have a conversation in depth around the wording that's going into it if they're not fully clear.
They should legally not be allowed to write something like that.
That's my problem.
But they find something else.
Yeah, but you can't say you might have. I either do or don't.
Right. And is it blocked or is it not blocked? Is the waste going from the home to the street? Listen, I've had houses where they've been blocked. I get it. There's been blockages, right? Reverse pitch on pipes. We've had blockages to say, and the sewers back up in the old lines and the old cast iron pipes wear out. These are factual things that need to be done. I don't mind addressing things that are factual and need to be done. But,
well, they do that too with they inspect in attics and they find where the roof is weak because it needs another beam, and they find all kinds of stuff, and it really slows the process down.
Right.
And these things happen. It could be any number of things that they can find if they want to find something.
And that's the gray area. And what's the inspection for? To make sure that this buyer is buying a safe house that doesn't have any major structural issues. And the inspections are for informational purposes for the buyers. So the buyer has the right to the inspection. The buyer wants to ensure that they're like, I'll give you an example. My buddy Dave Solari years ago was going to buy a house. The front wall had structural damage. It was bowed. You're not going to buy that house. The inspector put his little thing on there. He saw the wall was bowed. He said, listen, I'd shy away from buying this house. This front wall should be rebuilt. That's an extreme thing. But give me, I don't know. Somebody keeps calling me from 717 here.
You know, do you need to take that call?
No, but it's very annoying because it's like 4 straight times here.
You know, some of these things that people are worried about buying, if you get a really good deal on your house, you can figure out a way to fix it. These guys can, my guy can fix anything.
Right. But I think it's
this is a little nuts because I was telling him about a house. And I said, well, that house isn't worth very much because it has low ceilings. And he said, it wouldn't be hard to make it high ceilings.
Right.
These guys can do anything
but
if you got the right guy.
It does
take a lot of time, though.
It depends on the consumer, too. Some people are more learned in construction and homes and components of homes than others. And I think you have to really watch the way you explain it to people so it's clear. Like Bay is saying, like, hey, this is a problem, but it can be rectified. Some things sound worse than they are, like you're saying.
Right.
Hey,
anything can be fixed.
Like even like a leak. They start with, oh, there's a leak. And then the people go, oh my God, there's a leak. Like the main water valve sometime has to be replaced on a lot of these older homes that have a leak in the valve. The plumber comes in, he cuts the pipe, he puts a new valve, and it's fixed. It's $250. We fix it. Now, we just had another issue on one. The rubber boot vent on the roof was worn, and it needed to be replaced. That is a factual thing that happens because the rubber deteriorates from the weather hitting it, and you have to, you have to replace them. It's something that's factual. Yes, it has to be done. But we run into stuff on these inspections now where they say, hey, the screens need to be replaced. That's not part of a home inspection. Go to the hardware store and buy new screens. That's not something that the seller should be responsible for replacing. And there's some gray area there with some stuff, but some of the stuff that's coming up is putting the realtor and the buyer and the seller in a difficult position because it wasn't articulated properly or worded properly on a final inspection report.
Well, people base their buying decisions on fear, I think, a lot more than they really need to. And they panic and think that, oh man, it's ruined because this one little thing is wrong.
Yes. Hub, 100% right as usual. And how do we now go a step further with that? How do we, I'm trying to see who's calling here. How do we improve our communication and avoid things like this stopping people from buying or selling?
It's really, really hard, but you can explain if you've worked with someone on remodeling a house like I have. If you worked with people doing that, and you get interested in that, you can explain to them that this thing can be fixed, and it's not that as big a deal as you think it is at all.
Right. And
anything can be fixed with the amount of money, but you got to get the right person to do it. The other problem is you got to know how to find the right person, and you got to know how to do that. And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that either. And I don't think they're going to because they don't know how to work with the handy people. They don't know how to work with those guys because they have a different way of thinking.
100%. So, if you're the realtor, what is our position and how far do we go in helping resolve these issues for our clients in a manner that makes sense, time, money, ethically, and all for our clients? Because I find myself stuck in some of these scenarios that really take up a lot of time. And I'm giving them ideas for vendors to come out and help them, like you said, because we do come across some of this stuff and we know some industry professionals that can rectify some of these situations. But it really, my job, right, is to bring a buyer and a seller and negotiate and get them to the table, right? I'm not supposed to be the guy.
You got to know the people you're selling to, and you got to know what they're how open-minded they are,
right?
And then you're able to work with what they are. And when you know that you can't convince them of something, you move on to the next person. And there's amazing people out there that will listen to you,
right?
But there's a good portion that won't.
Hey, Dan, are you able to didn't we talk to? Don't you have like a home inspector guy that we talked to?
We did, yes.
Aren't you? Are you able to? I mean, I guess that you probably can't.
I am.
To a point.
You can,
but
call
can you But no. But can you also just like for every deal you're working on? Can't you just say like, look, this is my team. I have
imagine if some of these scenarios are with some of the people that are on your team. You feel me?
Well, so you don't want to send any of your team member to somebody that's going to be too hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And again,
is that what you're saying?
No, and again, like I think where you brought this conversation, Hub, is something to be looked at there. Not everybody is a fit personality-wise for every client. So not every vendor, for example, which kind of you just touched on, maybe a certain type of home inspector and the way they do the inspection might not be a fit for a certain buyer because there might be a disconnect in a personality. They might be a better fit with someone else. Same thing with the mortgages. Same thing with me. I'm a little bit more fast. I'm a little bit more hyper. Maybe it might not be a fit for someone that doesn't have that same personality. I'll give you an example. My cousin that sold my house years ago in Fallcroft. She was a very good realtor, very professional, but her demeanor was the opposite of mine. And I wasn't a realtor at the time, and she rubbed me the wrong way because I mistook her deliberateness for not working on my behalf. It was just because it was her personality, not so much that she was trying to do anything wrong, but I felt like the way she was presenting and doing things wasn't the way I wanted it done. So what I'm trying to do from all this is, right, so this is a learning exercise for me, right, to say, how do we make it better for the buyers and sellers? How do we improve this process? How do we have better engagement with our vendors and partners so there's not this communication disconnect that can cause some angst and some financial issues in a transaction that may or may not have needed to be done, just like we ran into this issue with the sewer line.
Now, did you send them that inspector, or did they get the inspector from someone else?
It's a good question. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one, but because I don't want to go too far into who it may or may not be, because I don't want to go there. But I do recommend people. Let's put it that way, and I am happy with the people I recommend, and I appreciate them going the extra distance. But like what Bay said earlier, I want a clear and concise answer, because if it isn't based on fact, how am I going to rectify it if I don't know? I have to then prove it out and then rectify it. That's not fair to us that have to be involved in help negotiate a final outcome that makes sense for both the buyer and the seller, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they weren't being responsible. But like I like the idea that Bay said, that you have a team of people that you can say, I trust this guy to do the right thing for you. But at the same time, before you even get there, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would think that you got to get to know the customer a little bit.
I agree.
if that customer is capable of being even open-minded, and if they hear one little thing that's off, are they going to freak out?
No, right. And then, like, do you say to the customer, let's look at the other side of the coin. Do you not recommend anybody anymore and say, find your own home inspectors?
No, you try to, I would say you try to just, I can say you can only, if you can't get them to work with you, right, and they aren't too difficult, then you just have to move on to the next customer.
So why do I recommend Vodafone to CMG Home Loans, right? So not everybody's personality is a mesh. And I was an IT spell about this. I say, he doesn't have like the best, he's from Delco, right? So he's not that there bedside manner guy. He is one of the best mortgage guys, detail wise and substance wise, in my 17 years that I've come across. The guy knows the business inside out, upside down. He foresees stuff before it happens, and he avoids the pitfalls, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he might not be a fit for everybody personality wise all the time, right? So again,
well, here's what you do. You explain that to the customer before you send him. You say, now this guy, I guarantee he knows his stuff. And you don't bring Donald Trump into the conversation. You don't say he's like Donald Trump who knows what he's doing.
Right.
But people might not like the way he acts, but he knows what he's doing. You don't bring that kind of thing. I don't know why I had to say that, but that was a good,
just a comparison purposes, right?
What I'm trying to say is, look, I don't even care what their personality is, as long as they're not mean and they are an amazing worker.
Right. And
nobody can work with anybody who's mean.
Right.
But you get used to people and their quirks and whatever they do. If you know you can trust them to do the job right, you say, okay, I'll just let you do the job right.
And everybody's got a different personality. But I'll tell you, when I recommend somebody, do you know how long we vetted them? Like, I have people call me every week wanting to be a mortgage partner, a partner with my title. You know, Aaron Abstract, who handles our title. You know how many war stories I can tell about the quality of work that they do, and I'll tell you, talk about a bedside manner. There's nobody nicer, nobody more professional, nobody more learned than Karen Mancini and Janine Dugan and Aaron Abstract. And Mary does our conveyancing. So everybody that works with us is highly vetted, and you can't be perfect all the way around. But when I run into scenarios like the sewer line issue, and I know the amount of money it costs people, it upsets me because I want to ensure that this is everything's on top of the table, honest, open conversation, so we don't run into instances that could blow up transactions and it's not factual. So even when we go to realtor school, it's a learning experience on everyone.
Now, the other thing is with the people that I work with, the different handymen and people like this, I get to know them and I know how they are. And so when you're recommending these people, you can say, well, if he, like, for instance, my handyman, if he asks me for 10 boards, I'm going to go buy 20.
Right.
That's just the way if he says it's going to take a day, I know, and this works for almost all of them. If they say it's going to take a day, it's probably going to take 3 days. And that they're not lying. They're overly optimistic is what they are.
And my thing is this: but you got used to them, and you know that, and you
know their personality. Another weird thing about my handyman that he will do is, if we'll do the job and we'll do it, and then he'll say, I should have done this. It's going to work, but I should have done this, and it would have even been a little better. He's honest about that. Now, I think that's great for me because I love it, because it still worked. He just wished he had done it even better.
Right,
but he'll tell me the truth. I love that.
Well, that's
a lot of people could not handle that at all. They'd say it's not
Hub, this is the crux of it. What did you just say? He's going to tell you the truth, and this is where I get very animated.
I don't even care. I'm glad he told me the truth, man, because he, you know what? We fixed a drain on the roof, and he said, I should have cut that tar paper a little bit better. And he said, I should have cut that tar paper a little bit better before I put the tar in. But you know what? It worked perfectly. It worked perfectly. But if he would have done that, it would have been more perfect. It would have been more perfect.
And again, back to the other. No one's perfect, and it's a learning experience.
Yeah, but people think they think that either it's perfect or it's not good at all, and they're just
right. And what I want to do is clean up the language around stuff so it puts us in a better position to articulate the conversation between our buyers and sellers.
Yeah, you have to be real deliberate, and you also have to be. You have to also be. Use what Shakespeare would say, brevity is the soul of wit. You got to be brief about what you say too, with that kind of thing.
Well, I have you know what, for me, you know me, sometimes it gets elongated where because I get upset because I want to make sure that everybody is happy in the transaction and they're fully learned and understanding on that scenario, why we resolved it a certain way, and make sure that within good reason that everybody was happy with the outcome. And that's what, I mean, in closing, that's kind of the way I look at it. And that's why I like to bring it up, open it up to other people, have a conversation about it, you know, keep it general in discussion terms. But
wait a second, you know, Dan, couldn't that be an adaptation to the modern times that you may need to make a little adaptation to where you realize that you can't please everybody so much?
Yeah, well, that's me though. You know, that's
I know, but you got to understand right now people are there. There are people that are going to take advantage of that more than.
Well, that's the problem. So, like when you have a buyer that says, "I'm not buying," now you're a salesman, right? We're salespeople, which people forget. I think sometimes I'm a salesman. So they say, "I'm not buying the house because that has to be done," and then we get like, "Well, wait a minute. We're not blowing up a deal over something that's not clear. We're going to have to come to a resolution and try." Why would we blow up a whole deal over a $700 repair? And so what did we end up doing? We end up just fixing it. Did it need to be done? No. Who made the money? Zoom Drain made the money. The guy was honest with me though, right there. But I told the guy from Zoom, he was honest with me. But we decided to let him do it because we wanted to lower the risk at post-sale. Right? Does that make sense? I mean, that makes sense for everybody.
So I guess we didn't get to talk about cars today too much.
No, and we're going to have.
I might have to bring out those screwdrivers again when the car guy comes.
Yeah, we're going to get him on next month, Bay.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. We were texting beforehand, and he was like, "Let me know when," and I'm going to go out in the parking lot and sit in one of the cars. And then when he goes, I'm with the customers, and he sent me a shot of customers sitting at his desk.
Well, listen,
you know that there was a commercial on YouTube, and I sent it to y'all. It was a commercial of Roy Clark doing a CarQuest commercial, and he was playing guitar and singing. Roy Clark from Hee Haw.
I can play it if you'd like.
And let's play it out with it, Bay. Play that.
Are we leaving right now?
Yeah, it's 7:57 over here.
Yeah, but you want?
Our program is I got to run too because it's been 11 hours for me. But Bay, play it up here.
All right, here we go. Let me make sure it's on.
And listen, this is going to be a tease for next month. We're going to tease this for next month's program.
And this is a genuine CarQuest, very rare screwdriver. And now it's, and now they've been bought out by Advance Auto.
If you're looking for a rotor or a windshield wiper motor, you'll find it at CarQuest. If you've got the smarts, then it's the place for parts. You'll find it at CarQuest.
I run around town when they've got it all down at CarQuest.
Take it from Roy Clark and the repairmen. If it's a really tough part, then don't lose heart. You'll find it at CarQuest.
I love that.
That's the best. All right, listen, that's going to be our tease leading into next month.
Hold on, let me close this off. The hell? Now we're like on a Roy Clark.
There we go. So that's going to be a tease going into next month. We appreciate everybody joining us. It was a quick hour here. We'll bring Mike on from David Dodge. Hopefully next month. We're going to bring Hub Screwdrivers back next month. And we're going to talk more real estate. We appreciate you joining us this month. Bay, sign us out.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in to the closing table. Hopefully, we'll be back with Mike McVeigh next month. He is the car salesman to the stars in the Delaware Valley. And We have the house sales to the stars. Right below us, Dan Pizzi of NextHome Brandywine. And we have the screwdriver to the stars, Hub Rigel. So everybody, tune in. Go to nexthomebrandywine.com for all your real estate needs, whether it's residential, business, rental, or purchase. Dan the Man Pizzi is the one.